Well, hello Scratchers. In this video I'm going to try and demonstrate how to make an event handler. Well, what's an event? Okay, in computing, an event is something that happens when the user does something to your computer or when your computer senses something. In Scratch, we can listen for events using something we find in the Sensing tab. If I go to Sensing and get this function here, key space, that's listening for an event. Okay, so I can listen for all different kinds of key press events. Right, there's a big long list of all the keys that I can press, and then I can code something in Scratch that responds to those events. What we're going to do here is make a little program that counts. So let me just go back for a minute. I've got a little program here, very plain program, just one sprite. Okay, I'm going to make a loop. So I've gone over here to Control, and I've chosen the forever loop. I'm going to pop that. First of all, actually before I do that, what I need to do is I need to make a variable. So I've made a variable, and I made a variable called counter. And I'm going to start by setting that counter to 0. Next, inside the loop, I am going to say the counter. So I have say, the say block, which is in looks. It's a purple block, and I'm going to say the counter. Now, when I run the code, all the sprite does is just says 0, because that's all the counter goes up to. But if I take this function here, which is change counter by 1, and I find that in my variables tab down the bottom here, change counter by 1, and if I pop that inside the loop, I will see that the sprite starts counting really nice and quickly. All right, let's take that idea and go one step further. Okay, this time I don't want to count every time through the loop. I only want to count if there's an event that asks the sprite to count. And so what that means is I need to add a selection. Right, so I'm on the Control tab over here. I click on Control, and this is my selection. So if the user presses the right arrow key, I want the cat to count up. So I am going to use my selection if, and here's my condition, if key space right arrow. So I am listening for the right arrow event. Now, if that happens, then I want to change the counter by 1. And I take that and I put that inside the loop. Now, it's got to stay inside the loop. If it doesn't stay inside the loop, then Scratch will listen for that event just one single solitary time. But because events might keep happening, I need the computer to keep listening for that. After that condition is there, right, then I need to tell my computer to say the counter. So I'm going to drop both of those into here. When I run the code, the cat starts by saying 0. Now when I press the right arrow key and I hold my finger on the right arrow key, the cat counts up. All right, let's take that idea one more step further. What if I want the cat to count backwards? What if I have it listen for the left arrow key? Left arrow. Now I'll do the same kind of thing. Okay, same kind of thing. Get that out of the way. I need to go and get a selection, which is in my Control palette. If the left arrow gets pressed, then I want to change the counter. This time I will change it by -1. Now, have a look at the program that I've got here and see if you can figure out where this piece of code needs to go. All right. I'll take that out just so it can be a bit clearer for you to see. Now I have one if statement here, and underneath that if statement, not inside that if statement, underneath it, underneath that if statement, I place the second if statement, and then outside that if statement I have the counter. Now when I run the code, the cat starts at 0. If I go left, it takes numbers away, and if I go right, it counts up. All right, very cool. Now, one other thing that I want to happen is at the moment, the program doesn't finish elegantly. All right, I've told my program to run forever. Now, forever is a pretty long time. I don't want it to actually run forever. Sometimes I might want my event handler just to stop because maybe it's game over and I need a nice way to finish the program. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my control and I'm going to look for a different loop. Instead of looping forever or instead of looping for a certain number of times, I am going to repeat until. All right, now I'm going to repeat until now. Let's say I want to repeat until the user presses the space bar. When the user presses the space bar, I want the program to finish. So I want the user to end the program by pressing the space bar. So there's several things that I need to do here. First of all, I need to get an event handler to listen to that event if the space bar is pressed. All right, let me go and get my control tab. Okay, if the space bar is pressed. Now, what happens when the space bar is pressed? Okay, I'm going to need one more variable for this. One more variable, and that variable is, I've already created it. If I go down here to variables, I have got a variable here called stop the program. Now, what I do to begin with is I set stop the program to no. I don't want to stop the program. No. Set the program equals, stop the program equals no. All right. Now, I am going to repeat until, so that block is going to go over there. I'm going to repeat until stop the program equals yes. All right. Until stop the program. So I went down, I have to use an operator to see if something equals. And an operator is one of the green functions. So if stop the operator, or stop the program, now stop the program is a variable. Let me go back and find my variables. Stop the program, that's over here. Grab the variable, stop the program, and repeat until stop the program equals yes. All right, now if the key space gets pressed, then what I will do is I will set stop the program to yes. All right, I'll pop that inside there. So now I have another selection. So I've got three selections. One, okay, if the space bar gets pressed, stop the program. If the right arrow gets pressed, all right, let me just tidy this up a little bit. I'll take that away so that's not going to confuse us. If the right arrow gets pressed, right, now that goes underneath the space bar, not inside the space bar selection. And finally, if the left arrow gets pressed, that's got to go inside my loop. This will happen. And when the loop finishes, the very last thing that I want to happen is I want my program to say, that's outside the loop, goodbye. All right, so if I run the program, let's see if that works. Hopefully it does. Okay, so if I press the right arrow, I'm counting up. If I press the left arrow, I'm going down. Now this should continue until I press the space bar. And when I press the space bar, I want the sprite to say goodbye. Let's see if that works. Goodbye. There we go. All right, now you try and see if you can make a program just like that one. See you soon.